ตึงอยู่ใช่ไหมครับถ้ายังตึงแล้วหย่อนแล้วก่อนกลับบ้านแวะที่ห่อไว้กลับไปด้วยก็ได้นะครับอาหารกลางวันยังมีแจกกลับบ้านอยู่นะครับโอเคก็เซสชั่นถัดไปนะครับเป็น autonomous squat transformation เนาะ squat แล้วแต่ใครที่อยู่ในห้องนี้รู้จักคำว่า squat ไหมครับผมขอดูมือหน่อยโอเคที่เป็นอย่างนี้ใช่ไหมอาจจะใช่หรือเปล่าไม่รู้เดี๋ยวมาดูกันนะครับก็เซสชันนี้เป็น autonomous squat transformation นะครับจากคุณนัทนะครับคุณนัทเป็น Chief Product Innovation Officer จากน็อกขายอะไรนะฮะ
ขายอุปกรณ์ในบ้านค่ะ
ขายอุปกรณ์ในบ้านนะครับก็มีใครเป็นลูกค้าน็อกเคยใช้น็อกไหมครับมีลูกค้าเยอะเลยนะ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
เดี๋ยวมาฟังกันว่าculture การทำงานที่น็อกเป็นยังไงนะครับก็ยินดีต้อนรับทุกคนสู่เซสชันนี้ขอเสียงปรบมือให้คุณนัทหน่อยครับ
โอเคค่ะ English ใช่ไหมคะ
Oh yes English I forgot switch
Okay, good afternoon everyone. So my name is Nat Wongtosrad and I'm a Chief Product and Innovation Officer. So I'm actually taking two roles there. So what I wanted to talk about today is how I actually transform Knock from having a very centralized engineering team into an autonomous team that could actually operate on their own without any influence from the senior management. So I'll talk to you guys on how did I do that. But before I actually go to Knock, I wanted to share my mistakes of doing the exact same thing, but at a different company. So actually, before I started that, anyone has heard of Spotify model? So many people, right? And anyone has heard about Spotifyers, like Spotify employees, saying not to use Spotify model? Well, not that many. So actually, one of my ex-colleague, wrote that article saying that you should never use Spotify model. You wonder why? Anyone know what happened? I don't think anyone knows. I didn't know either. So what I did after that was that I tried Spotify model in a Thai environment, actually Asian environment. And what I learned next was that it didn't work because there are so many reasons that we were not the same as Spotify. So a couple of years ago, I was in an agricultural multinational company. The CEO of this company wanted to do a big transformation because they know that being in an agricultural segment without having digital space might disrupt their entire business. So they say that, okay, I'm giving you this amount of money. You go figure out how would you digitalize this space. We got the money. Everything went fine. We want to experiment with a lot of apps. So we actually try to make use of the time that we have and the money, a lot of money that we had. We divide and conquer. We spin up so many different teams around the world so that we can launch different apps across the globe. But a year after, we found out that there's so many different products. And those different products actually worked. So that was amazing, right? But after that, the CEO said that you should merge. Because we found out that there are 3 teams doing the same thing. 3 teams doing authentication, another 5 teams doing the weather forecast, another 3 teams doing exactly the same thing. So how do we actually scale and merge all of these teams together? So that is the time I figure out like, oh, I should use Spotify model because I know about it. I used to be there. I used to work there. So I tried. And one of the things that I think happened back then was that I underestimate the importance of of communication. So when we started having the change, what we did was, how do we communicate to the whole team without leaving anyone behind. So we made a really careful plan, and we were too careful that information started to spread out without us ready. So there's starting to have rumors about people losing their jobs, about the organizational changes, about how we are changing the way that we were working, that this person that comes from Spotify would disrupt everything. So that led to the toxic environment. So that what I learned was that the communication is the most important thing about transformation. Any change that you want to change, anything related to people, you should be careful on communication. Over communication is the key. The second mistake, I kind of focus on mistakes here, but second mistake that I had when I was doing the change was that I didn't know the tech complication that actually sit within the company. So when we started with different teams around the world, we had different tech stack, we have different ways of working. So once we want to merge, this tech complication actually stops us from being the one team, right? And how do we actually balance the new setup with the way that we want to go next? So kind of how do we balance between fixing the existing architecture and building the new things that we want to serve the customer? And the last one is that once we want to merge, once we merge, we don't know who's the owner of each product. Like authentication, we have 3 different teams owning it. Once it merged, who owns it? So we didn't define that clearly. Next one. Once we decided that we want to have a new way of working, merge the team together, we didn't have a clear organizational structure. One thing that I learned is that autonomy cannot happen without accountability. So if we don't have a clear organizational structure, no one understands who owns what, where's ownership, who is accountable for what. So it's really, very difficult because now we have items around here and people are like, this is not mine, this is yours. So that is something we need to make sure we had before we change the structure. The fourth mistake that I made is that I didn't understand the people I had around back then. I didn't know their skill set. I might know that this person is a good visualization, someone who creates data visualization. I know that this person can create dashboards, but I didn't know that this person might not want to do data infrastructure. But with the new roles, we just put that person in that particular role. So we start having wrong person for the job, and that means there's a high probability that they will fail because we didn't reskill them, we didn't teach them how to do it, we just put them there. And one other thing that I will talk about later was we need to understand like what's the why for those people. Why do they come to work every day? Maybe they want to do certain things, maybe they don't want to do certain things. Okay, the last mistake that I think I made, that is one of the most important thing that made the failure of changing the organization, the transformation, which is the culture of the company. You might have heard this a lot today, and I managed not to use the word agile at all. Just one word here. I think one of the things that I personally believe is that if the business or the company is still business-driven, this is very, very biased towards me. Business-driven, marketing-driven, or operational-driven, you shouldn't use this Spotify model because it's not the same. Because at Spotify, what we had back then was product-led. It's a product-driven. So if you are still having the business hovering around or marketing hovering around, changing the prioritization, changing the roadmap, changing the items that gets into the sprint, then you will not achieve the real autonomous team. So that means you need to actually change from the top, from the C-level, understanding what's product-led. How do we make sure that innovations comes from the team, not from the business? So I think this is the biggest opponent to the model. And one other thing that I think if you have this culture is agile in disguise. So you are practicing all of this agile framework, but it's not really agile because you are following the items. Agile means agility, right? So agility means you can change according to what happened or the events that happen. So if you cannot change, if the business say or the CEO says that you need to do this, then you need to do it. Doesn't matter what data or what events that happen around you, you need to do it. That means it's not agile. So I still think that if you are still in this culture, don't use the model because you fail. Okay, so once I made that many mistakes, what I realized was that I thought back of what happened in Spotify, why it worked back then and why it didn't work now 2 years ago. So I thought about was there any Spotify model in Spotify? We never talked about it. No one actually says that, oh, we have the model. We are announcing to the whole world that we have this model. We don't talk about that at all. And I didn't get to know about that until I asked someone that, oh, how do you do this? And they just brief me or take me to the team, the squad, and let me observe. Because we all believe that the framework or everything that's in Agile should be changed and adapt according to your situation and adapt to your team. There's no one size fits all, right? So what I realized back then was that I can actually walk to anyone in the company asking what product you are working on, what's your roadmap, what's your product vision, what are you doing next? And I can just ask anything, ask for the API document, ask for anything. And everyone would be happy to answer your questions. Because we were in the mind space that we want to share everything with each other. And what I realized next is that everyone trusts the product manager. And we use product manager, not product owner. Trust means that even if I was the most junior product manager in the team, they would let me lead the product vision. They would let me decide on the product roadmap. There's no stakeholder, no Daniel Ek, who is the CEO, no one from finance, no one from marketing will come to me and say that, no, you need to do this. There's no such thing like that. So what I realized next is that this is not the framework. This is not the any agile ceremony that actually helps us becoming a Spotify. This is actually the culture and the mindset that distilled into people. So we can actually achieve those things that we kind of put into framework, but we can carry those out because people were ready to actually carry those things out. So after that, what I actually learned from thinking back from my mistakes and from thinking back to Spotify was that one is there's no tolerance for there's tolerance for failures, but not incompetence. This relates back to when I say that we had the wrong people in the job. If you know that there's a wrong people in the job, they are incompetent, you should get them out. Because we want to fail and learn. We don't want to fail because people are incompetent. Second one is, when I talked about people sharing stuff, giving feedback, the environment should be psychologically safe. but you can still give the real feedback, being candid. If anyone know like radical candor, anyone? Yeah, we have been practicing that. So how do we actually feel safe, but still can give the real feedback to other people? The third one is the thing that I talked about when we need to know our own accountability. We need to know what we own, what's the ownership of our product. So we need to be, you can collaborate, but you cannot push things that you own to other people. So you collaborate, but you need to understand individual accountability. So, okay, so that's what I made a mistake. I learned. So next is what I want to talk about Knock Knock. So I joined Knock Knock in July this year. So it's almost 6 months now. So before I joined, I kind of know the company. So I know what's the problem. I didn't know that it's going to be that bad, but I know that there were problems with the tech teams. So what I tried to do before I joined Knock Knock was that I tried to make sure that I cross off all the mistakes that I made before and not do it again in Knock Knock. So before I joined, I get to talk to the CEO. And I asked them in the first interview, I asked my CEO, where do you see Knock Knock being in the future? Like, where do you see Knock Knock in the future, in 5 years? One of the answers that I get from her and one of the investors was that we want to be a product-led company. And that actually was a big surprise because no one actually in Thailand actually understands product-led. But this CEO and this investor, who's from Canada, I think, they want Knock Knock to be a product-led company. So that's kind of cross off one first check that I made a mistake. It's not a business-driven. It's actually a product-driven. And the second point that I kind of checked before I get into Knock Knock was that I knew that Knock Knock in Thailand, when I joined, we had like 10 people in Thailand. But that means I get a chance to actually hire the right people for the right job. I get the chance to pick and choose my own, not having to reskill people, not having to shift people around. So I know that these two things are checked out. What's left in the next 3 mistakes is in this picture. So anyone see any resemblance of this picture to your team? Is it this bad? So let's start with the first person. This one. This is one of the main bottleneck that we had. So this person is someone in India. We had India team. We now still have India team, but we have differently now. But this was the person in India. He owns everything. I would say we always make rumors about him having a robot behind him because he works 24/7. We can contact him anytime, even on weekends. But he owns everything. He owns the direction. He owns the connection to developers. He owns the connection to all the PMs. And he also has direct connection to the business team. That means if he didn't understand anything, we'll make the wrong thing. And that happens so often. So every sprint, when it ends, we need to do hot fix 50% of it because he didn't understand the whole thing. He has too much to take. That's the first thing that I can spot out. The second spot, look at the developers. Developers are split into their abilities, right? The front end, even split it into UX and UI developers. We had a back end, we had a live support who fixed the bugs. They didn't do the code, they only fixed the bugs. And they have data engineer and data science. And the product managers, so weird. 5 product managers are working on the same thing. When I ask about certain product, I need to ask 5 different people, having 5 different opinions. I was like, who owns this? No one, because we work together. So they're highly collaborated, but there's no ownership. So when things fail, no one fixed it because what person A thought that person B will fix it, B thought C will fix it. So that was a weird situation. And design. Design were a shared resource. So it could be that one person are doing a whole thing, and the other one was sitting there doing nothing, and don't know who owns what again. This is the most critical part of the old system or the old setup. Business could actually request or prioritize the work. So weird, right? So business can come in and say that, oh, there is this new campaign. I need this feature to be up tomorrow. What this person would do is that, oh, there's a high impact because there's money involved. So we will remove all the things that in the sprint and put this thing up. So that creates a lot of problem, creates the problem of ownership, priority, innovation, so many more you can think about it, right? Because we couldn't finish anything. And when it looks like this, we never fixed the tech debt. So tech debt was way too much that when I joined, I kind of stopped the team and asked them to come up to me with all the list of tech debt that they have. And it was a lot. So that's, I think I cover all the situation I have. So with the things that I learned before in my previous job, and also when I thought about Spotify, I made a very careful execution plan because I don't want to fail again. So what I did was first, I tried to understand all the components. I am personally not a tech person. I'm always a product person. So I kind of not know how we should set up a tech. I need to learn like the tech design, I need to learn microservices, I need to learn many things so that I can make sure that I don't make a mistake again. So, and also I kind of like try to get a one-on-one with everyone to find out the why in all of my direct reports and even -2, -3. Because I want to know why they come to work every day. I'm actually a fangirl of Simon Sinek, if you know Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called Start With Why. So I really take that into the heart and make sure that I know the why of everyone in the team. The third thing that I did was I draw out the product components to make sure that all of the items that are talking to each other make sense. I didn't care like how it's set up back then. I kind of care, but I want to make sure that the future looks bright. So I design, along with the tech consultant, design the new way of the product, the tech product, how it should look like, and make sure that I can migrate from the current one to the new future, the bright future that I imagined that I should have. And the fourth one is very, very important. So the way tech should be set up should reflect how the product ownership looks like. That means if we are dividing the tech components into, for example, search, product page, product listing, then the team should be split like that. I didn't say it's split like that, but it should be split like that. Like payment should be one team. Then product and tech should reflect the same split up. Because that could help with the ownership and also the dependencies. If something happens, then you could be decoupled in a way that it's clear, right? And 5, once you set the product organization like that, then you have a clear ownership of the product that match with the team. So now if the payment fell, I know who to go to, or the stakeholder knows who to go to. If the product page is not coming up, stakeholder knows exactly who they should reach out to. And the last piece is that once I have all of this, so I work all of this in secret, and once I have all of this, I communicate to every single person in the team, personally, because it means so much coming from the C-level. I know that it wasted a lot of my time, but I think it was worth it. So I did all of this coming from what I learned in the past, what I think I learned from Spotify, and this execution plan. We came up with, before that. So I kind of make a tick in the rest of the mistakes that I made. So the first two was before I joined Knock Knock, right? The third one was clear roles and responsibilities. Making sure that people understand what's their accountability, what's their ownership. The fourth one is tech and product needs to go together. Never split them. The team needs to be together autonomously all the time. And the last one is the effective communication that I had. So after that, I split them into this picture. So if you remember the picture back then, and this picture is quite a change. So there's no tech PM. There's no one person sitting between any team. So engineering team are now sitting with the product, sitting with design and data. So this across team, let's say, let's take this product C. This team is autonomous. And this person is the one making all the decision with the information coming from engineering, coming from design, coming from data, and even coming from the business. So this person will not get overruled by anyone. I cannot overrule my team. As a CPO, I cannot do that. And I will not do that. My CEO cannot do that. If the CEO would do it, I would stop her. Because the innovation comes from the team. And what I demand from the business team is that you can always come to us. If you want certain things, you have certain problems, you can always come to us. Come to anyone in the team, it's fine. You don't need to go to the product managers. You can go and talk to the data, you can go talk to the design. But what they should come to us with is the problems, not the solution. Because if we understand the problem space, then we can brainstorm the solution together along with the design, tech, and product. So that can help with all the prioritization, or the impact analysis, and also the roadmap that we have. So we could actually finish the roadmap that we planned for the year. And yeah, I think that's it. That's how I transform the team. And this is how it looks like right now. What Knock Knock aspired to be in the future is that we want to maintain this working environment, and we want to be even better than this in being the product-driven company. So we are practicing something called product-led growth, if you heard about it. That kind of shift the mindset from people trying to buy. If you know Knock Knock, you know that we are popular for being the cheapest or having a very good promotion. But we want to shift the mindset for both the customer and our own teams, that we want to create the best user experience instead of being the cheapest in the market. So this will actually drive that. And I believe that this will make us grow even more than right now. And I think that's it. So if you hear this and you think that is interesting and you wish to join us, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Nat. And I think it's very inspiring to hear someone who used to work at Spotify, which is kind of like agile god somehow in the culture sense, talking about the Spotify and say not to use Spotify model. That being said, anyone have a question for the session?
Thank you for the session. It was really good. I had a question regarding the business team. So before you mentioned that business were able to prioritize, right? But then after it became a product-like organization, it's the PM who prioritize, makes decisions. So how do you manage the business team? Because before they had a lot of power, and now they don't have as much anymore. So in terms of like collecting their problem or like telling them how we prioritize.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's a really, really good question. We had a lot of discussion, but the direction that we want to go this way comes from the top, right? It comes from the C-level. So what I had to do was to make sure that the CEO and the rest of the C-level understands that this is the direction that we are going for. And we try to be very proactive in doing the product vision. So once we decided that we want to change into this space, I make sure that all my product managers create the product vision that is compelling and that is practical. So they can present to the whole team that this is where we are going. And you can always, business can always give us a feedback, and we can shift the product roadmap a bit, but that's how we started. Like we become more proactive in telling people what we are going to do. We kind of over-communicated to the teams that this is the things that we are carrying out over quarter by quarter. And once we've done that, it's amazingly easy to change business perspective that, oh, this is what we are doing. So can I just tweak this a bit? And that's how we changed the whole company perception that, oh, now it's product-led. Yeah.
So let's say right now in my companies right now, the CEO is kind of like the product expert on the domain. So because in the team, in the knock right now, you distribute the product. I mean, the power to design how the product should be to the product owners, right? I'm trying to do that as well, but because right now our CEO is have a lot of knowledge on the things, the business model, the business domain that we're doing right now, and he have an argument that we do not have a good enough or a product owner which have a good enough knowledge in the domain that we're working right now. My question is that the first question is that how much of the expertise that you think that the product owner should have on the business domain, which the company working on that we can give him the powers to manage the product, and how to convince maybe it's the C-level to what should I say, have the trust on the product owner because right now we're trying to distribute the power from the CEO to be on the product owner, right? Mm-hmm. But because and he is a very good on his field on the domain that he's working on, and it's pretty hard for us to trying to drive like okay, we want to distribute this power to the product owner who is not have that expertise when compared to the CEO.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So I think there are probably two things there. One is how do you actually put trust into people, and the second one, how do you actually stop the CEO from controlling all of the things, right? So I think one thing that I did was that I know for the fact that the teams back then when I joined was not ready, but I was willing to take the risk, because otherwise I will be overwhelmed myself doing all these product roadmaps, everything of product vision. So I take the risk. So if you remember my slide back then, it's autonomy. You can have autonomy, but you cannot have incompetent people. So if I take the risk and say that, okay, this product manager, product owner, you own this and this and that, and if they cannot perform, I would try to micromanage them. So it depends on the person that you are taking the risk with. So if we have, let's say, 10 product managers, and 9 out of 10 are doing well, and the one person couldn't deliver, then I would be like helping that person, coaching that person, so that they can grow and become the real product managers and I can trust. So it's taking the risk for me. Like I need to trust them first. The second one is CEO is the best in the job. I think what what he should do, I think, was that he should try to let go. Otherwise, he will always be the one. He will have this opinion. He will always have this limited mindset that he has over the product, and there will be no innovation. So maybe talk to him about like.
Yeah, I try. Because I try. Because like he I mean, the
He's
expertise
really
that he
good.
has is really hard to find in the market, and he is really good on that. But I'm trying to, you need to let it go and then let the people to be grow up, right? But my question is that how many, let's say if my CEO have like 100 point of knowledge, how much of the point that you think the product owner should have compared to him that he can have a power to design what product should be?
That's very quantitative. I think everyone has different strengths, and being either product managers or product owners, you could be good at maybe product vision, good at product roadmap, good at product strategy. The other one could be good at product deliveries, working with the developers. So I cannot really tell like how many points I should tell like I should be giving to those people in order to give trust. But what I would do is I would just tell them to jump into the water, swim, and if you cannot swim, I will help. So maybe that's my kind of management direction, because I don't want to over control people. I want them to try out, and I'll fix the problem. I'll help them fix the problem. But if one person jump and almost drown, and even I ask them to try to swim, and they still like don't want to swim and drown, then I will remove that person from the job, because they don't want to learn, right? They don't want to swim to become better. So yeah, so that's my way of working.
Last question. Do you have any suggestion to counter his argument about like he is the expert and author is not an expert? How can I like? Do you have any suggestion to convince him or counter his argument?
I think one other thing is that I would ask him like, how do you see yourself scaling up? Because he cannot duplicate himself, right? He cannot be CEO 1, CEO 2, CEO 3. So if he cannot do that, then he will not be able to scale if he don't teach people to work. I have a vision that Knock Knock will scale 3-4 times in the future, maybe in these 2 years. So I know for the fact that I cannot control everyone. I cannot be in every single product. So I need all of these product managers to be in control. So I'll ask him like, if the company scale like 2-3 times, will he be able to do that, or he will just like burst into pieces? Yeah.
Thank you.
ข้างหลังก่อนนิดนึงนะครับ
สวัสดีครับ I'd like to ask about the communication practice that you used. So in the past, you have one Indian guy or girl
Yeah.
to facilitate all the communication, like centralized model. But now you have the decentralized model across the very big team there. We'd like to learn more about how you manage the communication flow and how to make it effective.
So even if I have an autonomous team, I still do governance on product. So the product governance are there's a yearly product vision presentation. So that means every year they need to present the 5 quarters vision. What are we doing? And every quarter there's a QBR, which anyone can attend. Any stakeholders can attend. The QBRs will be quarterly business review, where we review the past quarter and also what we will do in the next quarter. So making sure that the next 3 months is well known in the whole company. And there's a monthly OKRs or metric session. We try not to use OKRs, will be the next talk. The monthly metric session where we update each other on the metrics. And that's a bi-weekly sprint review that any stakeholders can join. So we give all of these events to all the stakeholders. If they are interested in any of them, they can just pop in and join and ask questions.
And the events you mentioned, that's based on one product team.
Yeah,
Right.
so all product teams need to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, for example, 2 weeks ago, we had a product vision for the whole company, and anyone can join. Anyone can ask questions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Can I see how many hands still want to be up there? 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll go with these 3 questions and we'll go for a break. Okay, thank you. So you all get a chance to ask.
Can you give me an example how you slide the products? Like you give an example like payments, and then for knock knock it may be search, or kind of like that. Like or and then okay, my question, like let's say for example, like for the payment, then it might how about like if it has so many components like microservices, so it should be included in these products, right?
Okay.
But then how they could communicate between
Right.
the team? Yeah.
Okay, so how I slice the product. There are 5 main product areas. If you, maybe I can show. So there are 5 main product areas. One is the front end, not front end, customer experience. Oops. So this is the area. If you see area 1, area 2. So in one area, there are many teams, right? There are many different smaller products. So there are 5 areas right now. One is CX, customer experience. So focusing on making sure that our customer have the best experience. And the other one, since we are a marketplace, we have a partner experience. So the seller that sells on Knock Knock will have the best experience as well. So that's the second area. The third area is the installer. So we have all the Pichang experience. So because the customer, the partner, and the installer, they are very different kind of persona. So we split it like that. And the fourth one is the data. So we have the data ML, machine learning, personalization, that sits within one of product. And the last piece is the platform. So payment API, authentication API sits under platform. So that's the area that we have.
Yeah, but then like the business, because like from my experience, sometimes the business just like, they will give the strategy like come like across this way, like to touch all the products. But then like how could you manage that? Like, because even though you like provide the roadmap for each product, but then like each business, they will have their own priorities. And then, okay, I also want this by end of like quarter 1.
So
Like with the power of product owner itself, how could we compete with the business?
That's a very good question. So before we move into this setup, we had a lot of discussion like that. Like business tries to come to us with 100 items on the Excel sheet saying that this is what they want right now. So I start asking them, what's the impact? So I ask them to get the data, ask them to get like, if we don't do this, what happened? So they start filling in things, stuff by stuff, right? And then when I talk to them, like, let's look into this customer experience. That's the easiest one. The thing that you want will not create much more impact, but this is the thing that we are planning to do. This creates much more impact. What do you want again? Like, we want to make sure that we don't want to overrule anything in the company, but we want to make sure that we have the same perspective. We are doing the best for the company, not for the team. So trying to go back to them with the data, trying to go back to them with like, this is the rationale. Do you agree? If you disagree, then talk to us. So that's how we try to tackle. I think the first few months will be a lot of like, people get frustrated with things and a lot of communication meetings happen. But after you pass that, it becomes clear that, okay, let's use the product vision, and the business team will take that vision, and they will kind of brainstorm. For example, one of the things that we try to do is, let's say, there's so many things that we want to do. The app, okay, it's coming up. And the business didn't think about that because they didn't know that we are going to build the app. But once we tell them like, oh, we are building the app, and this is the right direction of the app, we are not going to do so many promotion. We're going to make sure that there's other values that we can give to the customer. So once we present that, business will come back saying, oh, this is nice. Can we have this? Then what we do is that, okay, we compare what you want and what we have, and see which one makes it more impact, which one has more effort. And if what they request really makes sense, then we change the roadmap because we are agile, right?
But then this means like only one business per one product. So
Kind of, yeah. So I try to make sure that the business, if you are taking care of customer experience, then you talk to this person. If you're taking care of the partner experience, then you talk to this person.
okay, yeah. But I think like try to think about the other scenario. Like currently, Knock Knock might like sell furniture, but then how's about like if there is another business would like to use like your platform to sell books, then now you will have like two business requests to like maybe work on like CX, something like this. Then like might have an argument between like furniture's business guy and then business books business guy that okay, I want this kind of features.
Okay. So for this example, it's very easy because we, as a company direction, we don't sell books.
Oh, yeah.
But if we talked about, let's say, okay, we need to integrate payment, right? We want to integrate crypto payment, and we want to integrate the QR payment. So if we compare that, we are pretty clear that crypto might not make so much impact, but the QR will. So we will prioritize QR and deprioritize the crypto. So that's how we say no to the request.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I answer your questions.
Not really. I think like my imagination is like maybe just like one platform, but used by different business, like business. How can I business case like now this is like Knock Knock is selling furniture, right? But then like house right just utilize the same platform, but to sell the other items like this another kind of business. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to like put more.
If you want-
insight because you have
ถ้าไทย
marketplace
ไทยจะง่ายกว่าไหมคะ
ใช่ เพราะว่าตอนนี้น้องๆก็มีทางที่เป็นแบบ marketplace ที่ขายของ แล้วก็มีช่าง ซึ่งจริงๆเราเป็นธุรกิจที่ไม่เหมือนกันเลยอันนี้ business case จะเคลียร์มากกว่า
Okay, now I understand. So if it's a very totally different business like the installer, what we would do is that we would spin up innovation team, which is also under me, right? Small innovation team will consist of like just one product manager and one UX. Go out and research and find if there's a problem statement or any pain points that we should fix. So if people really wants the installer, the Chang, then we would invest in those more. We will see if anything that we can reuse. For example, we can reuse authentication, we can reuse payment, we can reuse some components on the website, but we cannot reuse the whole experience, right? So if there's opportunity, then we'll invest in those teams as well. So it depends on what's the outcome of the first user research.
Yeah. Okay,ค่ะ.
Actually, very interesting conversation, but just for the limitation of time, I would suggest you look into flight levels. I would have to focus on the last two hands, and then maybe you guys can chat after the session, okay? Because we have to cut to the other session as well. So the last two hands that I saw with this lady and the other one up front, okay?
So I have two questions. I'm gonna combine my question. So in your presentation, when you change from the centralized into decentralized, the guy that do everything, and then you have the centralized team members. I would like to ask, what have you done? What is the most important and make the impact tasks that you do to transform from the centralized to decentralized in terms of like the shared understanding of the product or of what that guy do?
Okay. You mean this guy?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I look at this picture and when I want that, then I decided I needed to transform this. I will look into the most difficult part first. So this is that guy, right? So I had a lot of one-on-one session with this guy, asking him like, where do he see himself in the future? Why he comes to work every day? What knock knock means to him? So I find out like his need or his why. Then I found out that okay, he wants to grow into a product manager role. So what's missing from his perspective is he doesn't understand the user. He only take requirements. So I offer him like, okay, let's do this. This is the thing that you want. You want to understand user. You want to be closer to the problem statement. You want to be closer to the solution that we are trying to bring. You don't want to be just the messenger. So I put him in a role that could do that. So I kind of remove him from here and put him somewhere else that fits his need, but also fix my problem.
My question is that like once you decentralize the tasks and the knowledge to many teams, how do you make sure that the guys that you manage into different teams have the shared understanding and
Right.
Yeah,
You mean like all of this?
yeah, so there should be like something that you do to balance
All of these
between-
products understand each other, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have all of the product lead, which is the black one here. The main lead, the 5 leads, they have bi-weekly session with each other. So I need to make sure that the one in area 2 understand what the area 1 is doing. They do sharing and they also do like blocker and request. So if there's any blocker in this area from that area, then they can just raise in that session and we can discuss. I will be there as well to make sure that if they cannot agree on certain things, then I will be the one who help them to agree. So,
Frequency? How often?
bi-weekly.
Thank you. Last question, and if you have some more, I'm sure you can catch up with Nat after the session.
Hi, I have a question about one of the issues that the learnings that you had, which was that that you said that business-led culture means that blocks innovation, right? And you said that nobody in the business, nobody can overrule product manager. So does that really mean that they can? From what I understand, that they cannot change. They cannot tell you the solution that they want you to make, the product that they want you to make, or the task they want you to take. But are they able to prioritize at least the outcome, or like what? Because they do have their own KPI as well, right? And they need to run the business and they need the revenue. So how? If they cannot have a say in prioritization, why do we have them?
Yes, of course. They can come to us with the problem and also come to us with the outcome that they want. So, for example, they want people to land. Let's say they want people to land on the product page instead of a home page, because they see that the conversion on the product page is better. If they have certain data to back up, then we are happy to reprioritize the work for them. So we talk to each other on data. And what I encourage operations team, marketing team to do are that you are free to experiment. You just experiment everything manually. or if you need small help from us, it's fine. But you experiment first. Take that data from experimentation, bring to us. If it's really interesting and impactful, we will change the roadmap. So that's we try to base everything on data, not just the hunch that, oh, this might be good. Yeah.
But that means that the business person, if they're good and if they're data driven, if they're good,
Yep.
then you don't really need to
say no.
stop them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
prioritizing, Right.
So yeah, if they come to us with data and they are analytical, then yes, we'll listen to them. But bigger picture, a year roadmap, we still try to come from we still try to make sure it comes from product, because we know the customer kind of more, because we do interviews, we do research with them. But if there are certain things that we missed out and business can bring to us, we are happy to take that and then execute it. Yeah. So yeah, we still need them.
Okay, thank you. See, not every talk that have like a 30-minute talk and then 30 minutes Q&A. Very, very energetic and interesting. So big round of applause for Kunat. Okay.